Hey, this is Rob Anspach, and welcome back to another edition of E-Heroes for those keeping count. This is episode 309. And you look back when I started this in 2018, and you think, wow, where's Rob going with this? And I had an idea, I had a manifestation, I wanted to do something better to entertain entrepreneurs. And my next guest does exactly that. She'll help you manifest your life the way kind of like the way you want it to be designed. So I want to bring on Lena Khais or Lena Khais, and I think this is going to be very interesting because for all those entrepreneurs right now struggling, I think this is going to give you kind of the mindset to want to retweak some things in your business to move forward. If I can do it, I know anybody can do it. So welcome, Lena, and thanks for being here.
Thank you. It is so fun to be here. So fun to be here.
As we talked off air, and a lot of people know my journey, from being an owner of a cleaning business to now a worldwide publisher and marketer, but it took time. It took patience. It took mindset. And it was things that I manifested long ago. And I think right now, just coming out of the bump of COVID, a lot of entrepreneurs don't know where they stand in their own business. And I think they've been beaten down to the point where they don't think manifestation works.
That's a question I get asked all the time, especially when I work with male entrepreneurs is you do exactly what? And I say, I am your modern day practical money fairy.
Mhm.
And they look at me like, what?
Yeah.
So I will be the first one to tell you that every single person manifests. It is not a gift. It is not something that only select chosen few are given. It is a creative process that starts with a thought and through aligned actions turns those thoughts into things.
Mhm.
Now, there is actually a formula that you can apply, and that is something that I coach in my coaching business. But in a nutshell, you need to have a vision. You need to know what it is that you want because the language of the universe is frequencies. Money is not a frequency. Number is not a frequency. Emotions and feelings are.
Mhm.
So I will be honest with you right now. A lot of small businesses, especially, are feeling the friction
Mhm.
and describe it as like being stuck in a muck. Clients are ghosting. They're not extending their memberships. They're not buying the offers.
Mhm.
They're not really spending the money like the world used to when we were in the midst of pandemic locked up in our houses. Because right now people are actually living their lives. They're traveling, they're going on vacations, they're spending time with their friends. And a lot of business owners are starting to question, is this it?
Mhm.
Have I maxed out my earning potential?
Yeah, and I've thought about that too over the years, and I think every entrepreneur has, and a lot of them are coming to me right now and saying, "Rob, our sales are down 50%, 80%. I don't know what to do. I'm laying off people. I'm reducing costs, and I'm scrambling." And I said, "Well, have you looked at all the options?" "Well, no, 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 because this is what we've always done. This is how we've
Mm.
always done it." Well, if that's the way you've always done it, how are you going to change? What's your mindset to move forward? And they don't know, and they don't want to think about it. And I'm thinking, I can't help you. I'm you know, and I guess at one point in my life, I thought manifestation was a bunch of woo woo, and I didn't lit, and I even wrote a book recently, unscripted, unfiltered, unwoo-woo, and unguru. I don't like the gurus out there because they're preaching a lot of
Yeah.
crap, you know? And so I get it. I get their pullback or pushback or however you want to describe it. But you know what? without manifestation, without having a vision, you're not going to get anywhere.
And also, you manifest what you hate as
Mhm.
effectively as you manifest what you love. Because everybody manifests every minute of every day.
Yeah.
That drink you just had, you manifested it, right? It was a thought, an idea that became a physical thing. It just changed energy from being, one form of energy into another. Here's
Yeah,
what
and
where I
and
actually
I drink out of my Stitch cup because, it reminds me of Disney, and I go to Disney frequently, and people are asking me, "Rob, why do you do that?" I said, "'Cause every time I go to Disney, I'm inspired by new ideas, new marketing, new things, which then allows me to, trans um, make it into other businesses." So,
I
yeah, everything around
actually
me has to remind me of that vision.
Rob, I actually use Disney movies a lot in my coaching practice because a lot of people don't realize, but they're full of Easter eggs pertaining to manifestation.
Wow.
And we're not going to go on this tangent right now, but every single universal law is described in the one of the Disney movies. So we can do like a whole different episode about it.
Wow.
But the reason I always pay attention to the words that people use is because the words are usually codes. And while the universe doesn't necessarily understand it, we literally form our actions based on the codes that we tell ourselves. So when we're saying, I am stuck, I am cutting down, I am laying off, I am done,
Mhm.
these are strong statements. We're actually claiming a certain situation. Now, this is a very common universal law. Everybody knows about the law of attraction. And people usually think about it in a romantic kind of context, but the reality is it's all about the energy. And like attracts like. We can only attract, we can only manifest what we are a vibrational match for. If you're going through your day collecting the evidence of how much your life sucks, that is the frequency that you're sending out to the universe, and it will give you back what you are a vibrational match for.
Mhm.
It is not done to you, it is done through you. You are simply a conductor. That's all there is to it.
Mhm.
And another universal law that I personally love is the law of cause and effect. The trick here is to realize that you are the cause. You are the creator of your reality. And everything starts with you, including your business. The way I can usually pick up on that is again, when I'm listening to the codes that you are using, saying things like, I spend this much money. I just wasted 10 grand on marketing. I just dumped 5,000 on a new computer. That sounds very different than I have invested into opportunities. I'm open to receive new partnerships, right? So that is literally what's happening right now. We have normalized suck.
Mhm.
And every single one of us has inborn itty bitty shitty committee in our mind that will tell us everything that is wrong.
Mhm.
It's not because we were dropped as a baby. It's because that is our survival mechanism. Our mind is wired to protect us. And the only way to feel safe is to stay sane. So every single time when you try something new, it feels uncomfortable. That actually goes back generations. Generations. And a lot of our feelings and even limiting beliefs are generational. We inherited them.
Mhm.
Now, I'm going to tell you something, and people usually laugh, but we should really debunk and demystify the concept of limiting beliefs. There is absolutely no glory in it. And a limiting belief is simply a thought that no longer serves you. That's it. Thoughts are just little frequencies that come into your mind, and you can choose to keep them or you can dismiss them. The only difference between a limiting belief and a thought is limiting belief doesn't serve you. The cool part is because limiting beliefs can be formed in an instant, you can dismiss it in an instant. So let me give you an example. I work with a client who is a vegetarian. Now, I'm not saying that being a vegetarian is a limiting belief. I'm just going to show you how quickly that belief was formed. We got to talk about, kind of like what she loves and what she eats because I'm a huge foodie, and a lot of examples that I use have to do with the restaurant, placing an order, how would you like your steak? That isn't going to work for her because she's vegetarian. So it was important for me to understand like where it came from. And so she shared with me that when she was like 5 or 6 years old, she was visiting her grandma. And during the day when grandma was fixing the lunch, TV was on. It was like one of those daytime shows.
Mhm.
And there was an episode about a local farm, and the butcher was there. And not to get gory, but she basically saw how a cow becomes a steak. It had such a profound emotional effect on her that in the instant she formed the belief that eating meat was bad.
Mhm.
It took her a second, and that belief has been formed, and she has accepted it as her truth. Now, we do the same with money.
Mhm.
I told you I wasn't going to talk about Disney, but I am because I love Disney. When we are growing up and we are listening to fairy tales and watching Disney movies, do you realize that every villain, every bad character is usually the one with money?
Never really put it together, but okay.
Well, think about Cruella de Vil. She's a boss lady. She's got the business, she's got the money, she's got the style. She kills puppies for fabric. You don't necessarily want to grow up to be her. She's not the role model I'm showing to my daughter and going like, that is who I want you to be when you grow up. So jokes aside, we actually grow up learning that being rich is not okay. It's because, you're greedy, you're evil, you're nasty. And all of a sudden, when you step into the identity of an entrepreneur, you start making money, you're like, uh-oh, there's
Mhm.
a cognitive dissonance. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Yeah, and the first couple of years I had, my cleaning business, I think I was like that, and in fact, my slogan back then was, "We clean your carpet, not your wallet." And I
Mm,
wanted people to realize that I wasn't, the most expensive person out there. But the problem is that because I was cheap, I was
mm.
attracting cheap clients. So the money that I was attracting wasn't paying my own bills. And I thought, I can't do this anymore. After 3 years, I was struggling, and I raised all my prices big time. I mean, they were probably 200% higher than what I was. And I became the most expensive cleaner in the area. And it wasn't because I was greedy. It wasn't because I wanted to be Cruella de Vil. It was to prove to myself that I was better than anybody else out there. And the only reason I could be better is I was charging more, I was doing more, I was providing greater value, and my clients loved it. And we excelled. And I had that, like I said, I had that business for 19 years. But had I not changed the parameters early on, that business would have failed within the fourth year.
I love that so much, Rob, because that is such a beautiful example of both identity work and stepping into your next version with your goal achieved, with your
Mhm.
vision achieved. This is something that a lot of people talk about. Like everybody loves quantum leaping. Everybody is like, I would love to quantum leap. And they literally have the vision of that Back to the Future movie. I know I totally dated myself right now, but like you hop in a car or like you sit in some chair, you close your eyes and there are like flashing lights and you go through the galaxy and boom, you are where you want it to be.
Mhm.
You're not wrong. There are just no flashing lights.
Right.
And the way you quantum leap is you literally become the identity of yourself that can hold the frequency of your desire.
Mhm.
It is all scientific. This is the reason why so many lottery winners end up broke.
Yeah.
Because when you get a big amount of energy, which is literally what money is, if you're not used to, if you haven't had a chance to recalibrate, to hold that vibrational frequency, it's going to go away
Mhm.
because otherwise it will break you. This is what happens with a lot of business owners when they start growing, especially if it's a rapid growth. If they're not recalibrating themselves to the next level, it's going to disappear.
Yeah.
You literally need to learn to hold the higher level frequency that is a vibrational match to what you would love to do. Now, how do you do that? You become it. I remember when I was working on my first book, and I was like doing a little bit of writing, then doing a lot of complaining, then doing a little bit of writing, then doing a ton of complaining. And it was just going on for like years.
Mhm.
And I remember at the time working with a mindset coach who was like, why do you think that is? Like, what is your limiting belief, right? Like, what is your block? And I was like, well, like I have this corporate job and I'm a mom of two and I have a busy life and my kids are in sports and blah, blah, blah. And she's like, I know exactly why your book isn't published. You don't see yourself as an author. You told me a lot of different things about yourself right now, but not one of them was, I'm a writer or I'm an author.
Mhm.
And it hit me. Because when you step into the identity of, you start taking action as that character. So when I started telling people that I'm a writer and I'm writing a book, well, I started writing. And when I started writing, things started appearing because now I was sending a very clear message to the universe, a very certain frequency that I am writing a book.
Mhm.
Now, is that the end scene? No, the end scene is to become a published author.
Mhm.
How do you do that? Well, this is where a solid vision board comes in. People make fun of vision boards, and I guarantee you that 95% of people who do a vision board do it wrong
Mhm.
because they treat it as arts and crafts project, especially women. I love you girls, but seriously, this is not like, Hobby Lobby type of activity. But what do? We create a lot of we take trinkets and we cut out beautiful pictures from the magazine and we like lay it out just so. And then we'll look at it and I'm like, I hate this
Mhm.
because this is so not what I have. So we start paying attention to the lack. We start registering how far away we are from what we're looking at. The key to a solid vision board is you have to be in it.
Mhm.
So when I work with coaches and let's say they want to be the next Tony Robbins, I say, what does it look like? And they start throwing millions at me. Like I'm making 5 millions, they're making 7 millions. I'm like, okay, yeah, fine. But like, what does it look like? And they're like, I am standing on a stage and I'm looking at the audience and the lights are in my face and they're reflecting in my glasses and I'm holding the microphone. I'm like, yes, this is the vision. This is the vision board. So what I want you to do is I literally want you to take a selfie where you're holding the phone here and the microphone is here and all you see is your hand holding the microphone because that is the vision.
Mhm.
Now you are in your end scene. And they're like, oh, works.
And that was one of the reasons I started this podcast long ago, is to overcome my nervousness interviewing people.
Mm.
And 309 episodes later, it's become natural. I can just turn on a Zoom and start talking to people. It takes time. It takes patience.
Yeah.
And you have to look beyond what you're doing right now and say, look, this is my vision. And for me, being a full-time entrepreneur started in 1995. It's now almost 30 years later.
Mm.
So it's not, okay, tomorrow I'm going to make $1 million. 3 weeks, a year, 5 years. Your journey is different than my journey, and everybody's different. But I also have a family. I have 6 kids. I have 6 grandkids now, and a lot of times I put them first beyond my own vision, because for me it was always family always came first. And I had to stop blaming those situations. Well, I could have done this. I could have gone to that event and made millions. Instead, was at my family's event. I had to stop thinking that way. I said, look, family's always been more important to me than money. That's my treasure. What I'm leaving behind for the next generation, my books, my pie, that's my treasure. So money to me was totally different than somebody other's aspect of money.
And you know what? I find that there are a lot of cliches flying around, especially lately, like social media. You gotta love it. Hashtag abundance. And when I ask people, what does abundance mean to them? A lot of people actually equate money and abundance, and that couldn't be further from the truth.
Hmm.
I work with some pretty wealthy people who are the most scarce, broke, limited creatures. And I love them dearly because they're the ones who put food on my table and, put my kids through college.
Hmm.
But they're sitting on millions and are feeling completely broke.
Hmm.
The reason for it is there is a huge kind of spectrum between scarcity and abundance. And abundance is actually the feeling. It is not having, it's a feeling. It's the knowing that everything is always working out for you.
Hmm.
Everything is possible. You don't have to really white knuckle your dream because abundance is basically the way of life and universe is unlimited.
Hmm.
I get challenged a lot when I say that because people immediately say, well, like, how can you say that? There are whole countries, there are continents that don't have clean water. We have plenty of clean water for every human on the planet.
Hmm.
We don't have an issue with supply. We have a challenge with the distribution.
Hmm.
That is a human thing. That is not the universe. There is plenty of clean air, there's plenty of clean water. The universe is unlimited.
Hmm.
And this is why money is kind of like a human created component because technically you don't need money to be happy to live to like it just doesn't work like this.
Hmm.
Let me give you a really fun example. So one of my clients, pretty successful businesswoman, and she is super visual. Like that is literally the queen of creative visualization. So I know that for her, in order for us to move her to the next level, she needs an anchor and it needs to be a visual anchor. She was working on, her month end and she's like, you know what? I would love to, like just for giggles, make $500 in the next couple of hours. And I'm like, okay, like why? Like such a funny number, but okay. I'm like, just like at least be respectful to synchronicities, like ask for 555 or 111 or like. She's like, 500. I'm like, why 500? Well, I'm going on vacation and, this really cool spa package there. And it's $500. And so I would love to have it and I don't want to pay for it, meaning like this money will just drop on my lap. And I'm like, okay, I'll go there with you. So I'm like, create the end scene. And that's what we do. So she gets very, very detailed. She's describing the spa and she's telling me what kind of music is playing there and how the air feels and what it smells like and who she's talking to and what she's wearing and all of that. Great, beautiful end scene. She texts me from the airport and she's like, I didn't make $500. Like something is broken. And I'm like, hold the vision. She's like, well, what do you mean hold the vision? Like I'm already at the airport. I didn't make 500. I'm like, hold vision. So guess what happened?
She got
Unbeknownst to her, when she landed, her travel agent booked her as a VIP guest. And as a VIP guest, that spa package came complimentary with her stay. This is an example of, as long as you're clear with your end vision, how it's going to happen is not up to you.
it. Hmm.
The universe is the construction company. You are the architect. Your responsibility is to figure out what kind of a house you want, have that blueprint in your mind, and then release and surrender. The universe will deliver. So she didn't make $500 as cash in her hands because she actually, like, universe didn't need that.
Hmm.
She got that spa package in her own way.
Hmm. Yeah.
But a lot of times in business, that surrender part is so hard because when we own the business, we're in the masculine energy. We're do, 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 do. We forget that we're not human doings. We're human beings. And when you go into the overdrive and when you start pushing hard, you're actually cutting off the energy.
Hmm.
Like I tell my clients all the time, even if I give you a lot of air and I tell you, take a big breath and hold it in your lungs, and I'm not going to allow it to exhale, you're going to die.
Hmm.
That what happens with your business when instead of circulating the energy of money, you're holding on to it with dear life.
Yeah. When I started realizing that money was just a tool, it wasn't the end result. My mindset changed a little bit, and I think my business became better. Not so that I was dependent on money, but I was dependent on tools that would enable me to go further.
Yeah, I love that.
It just I think the way I did things is different than sometimes they teach, and it goes back. You mentioned vision boards, and I was in eighth grade, and we're going back a long time ago, 40 some years, but we were always told, cover our books, decorate them to how we wanted. So we were essentially creating our own vision boards on top of our book covers. And I thought it was the stupidest thing ever. I didn't have the pictures that everybody else had. And I'm trying to compare everything. And, I would just put a book. I would put, a microphone. I would put different things that I thought, you know, it would enable me. And the funny thing is that through the ages, I learned computer programming in high school. That now serves me in my company building websites for people. One of my favorite songs a long time ago was the Beatles' Paperback Writer. I'm now a paperback writer. So, there are things that we experience through our lives that if you look back and say, how can I use that now as a tool? And so everything that we learn in life is there to serve you, not
Yeah.
to burden you. And if you just learn how to, profit from that knowledge, things will work out so much better for you.
I love what you just said. And also, it is one of the universal laws. Everything is always as it should be. Because if it could be anything else, it would have been.
Mhm,
And the reason you are going through the experience that you're going right now is because it is molding you into the version of you that can hold the frequency of your next dream.
mhm,
I get this question a lot when I start working with new clients and we define their vision and we kind of get that North Star and we recalibrate their GPS and then they literally hit the shitstorm. Like everything just starts falling apart. And often people will ask me like, did I just manifest this disaster? Like, why is it so hard all of a sudden? It is because you are becoming the identity of you who will be able to hold that vision and live it as new normal.
mhm,
Because if nothing changes, nothing changes. Your life today is the product of your manifestation yesterday. And
mhm,
if you're not changing as the identity, if you're not elevating and ascending in terms of the frequencies, you can only manifest your current reality. You will be on repeat.
mhm.
And this is why so many of the entrepreneurs who come to you, who come to me, feel like they're stuck. It's not their business that is stuck. It is them who are holding on to their current identity, which is, by the way, beautiful and amazing and got them where they are and they did the thing and they made the money and they have been successful. And oh, by the way, if you love what you're getting, keep doing what you're doing.
Mm.
But in order for you to get more, you have to become more.
Right, and you have to not listen to the naysayers because, as I was transitioning from one business to the next and my marketing business was taking off and I was becoming more successful, I was getting more people saying, "Well, Rob, how are you doing this? You were just a carpet cleaner a little bit ago. You were just this, you were just that. You're not trained to do this." I said, "I'm trained to do whatever I want to do. I don't understand why you're being negative about it." And, then they go away and they don't talk to you anymore, but it's okay. But I think too many people listen to the naysayers, they look at the negative reviews, they focus on that one person who's giving them shit and they think, "Oh, did I do something wrong?" Stop.
I love what you just said. And if I may, I would love to set everybody free from this limiting belief in an instant. When somebody is giving you feedback, they do not know your truth. They cannot possibly know your truth. So, what they're sharing with you is their perspective of how they see something. That perspective is formed based on their experiences in their life. So, in fact, when they're giving you feedback, they're just telling you who they are. It has pretty much nothing to do with you
Mhm.
and everything to do with them. So the way I recommend anybody takes feedback is think of it as a banana. Do you like bananas? Let's pretend you love
Do you
bananas.
like bananas?
Okay. So you take a banana, you peel it, and you start enjoying the fruit, right? You know, like it's really good for you. It tastes yummy. It has like those nutrients and minerals, and it's like literally dessert without the guilt.
Mhm.
When you're done with it, you have the peel left. Well, you don't hold on to it, right? Until it gets like brown and gooey and starts smelling. You toss it. That's literally what feedback is all about. You peel it, you take what you need, and you toss the peel. There is such an inherent fear of being judged that actually comes from babyhood. So if you think about it, when we are this tiny baby, we depend on the food givers to like us. for survival. So we try to please. And I'm deliberately saying the food giver because it doesn't have to be just mom or dad. Like if you're in the baby room at a daycare, it's the nanny who's feeding you. So you depend on the food giver to survive. And that is a very strong message that gets coded into your brain. So we go through life trying to please the food giver.
Mhm.
Well, you're it.
Mhm.
You're now the food giver. You don't have anybody to please except yourself. And when you step into your true identity and you own your voice, you actually start attracting the right type of people, experiences, connections that are organic match to your true frequency. The static is going to be gone.
Mhm.
Disney, The Little Mermaid, remember the chick?
Mhm.
She was told by Ursula that she had to pick either to have the voice or the guy.
Mhm.
Well, you know that's a lie, right? Because she ended up having the voice, the legs, and the guy. We are meant to live the end life.
Mhm.
You don't have to choose.
And this was awesome, everyone. I hope you paid attention. Where can people go to learn more about you?
They can find me on social media because, the 21st century. So my company is called Atlas Paradigm. The website is www.atlas-paradigm.com. You can find me on Instagram at Lena Khais. I also have a free community on Facebook, Life by Design, Paradigm Shift for Entrepreneurs. And also, if you are curious to learn more about practical manifestation tips that you can start applying yourself today, my book that I contributed to called Plan a Life You Love is available on Amazon, Barnes& and Noble, all main retailers, and just now entered the New York Times bestseller campaign.
Nice. Awesome. Yeah. So, and the thing is that you manifested all of that.
Yes, absolutely.
So,
Absolutely. And you can do. You can too. What is possible for Oprah, what is possible for Jim Carrey, what is possible for Lena Khais is possible for you. It's both the
the,
same.
the Jim Carrey story is just phenomenal to me. Because when he first started, we saw him on Living Color, but then when he got into the big screen, I guess he wrote himself a check for $10
Yes.
million, and
Yes.
he
Yes. He
achieved
wrote.
that with the movie The
Yeah.
Mask.
Yeah. He wrote a check and he actually lived for several years, literally envisioning having that money
Hmm.
in his account. And it became true.
Yeah, yeah, that just and now he does whatever he wants to do. I mean, he's old enough now. I think he wants to retire, but he picks and chooses his own what he wants to star in, which is great. And I
Yep.
think as we get older in life, we need to pick and choose what makes us happy.
Yep. Yep. Yep.
So
Absolutely.
this was great, and like I said, everybody, go over to Lena's website, atlas-paradigm.com, and learn more about what she can do for you. Get her book, and then try to envision the life that you really want to live. Until then, we'll see you guys on the next episode. Adios.